support the initial work for a European safeguarding hub. These hubs will provide the athletes with independent guidance, psychosocial support, legal aid, and any other help that they may need, and they will do so through existing services available locally in the athlete's own language, within an understanding of their culture and the local context. The establishment of these pilot hubs will be overseen by an international safe sport task force that will include representatives from sport, intergovernmental organizations, non-governmental organizations, civil society, and of course athletes. We got an update from the future host commission for the Olympic Games because we asked the future host commission for the Winter Games to evaluate the future allocation of Winter Games following two main criteria. The one, that for sustainability reasons, a future Olympic Winter Games host should have a target of using only existing or temporary venues. Second, proposed snow competition venues should be climate reliable until at least mid of this century. Following these two criteria, there were two studies commissioned by the Commission. One, to identify the national Olympic committees with the most existing IF homologated venues, and another study to check if these existing IF homologated venues would be climate reliable until at least the middle of this century. Today, the future host commission for the Olympic Winter Games presented the first results of these studies. There are 15 national Olympic committees on 3 continents that have at least 80% of existing venues, which means that they have at least 9 out of the 11 required venues for snow sports. 10 out of these 15 have either recently hosted the Games or are interested to host the Games in the future. By 2040, so for Olympic, in Olympic terms tomorrow, 2 of these 15 NOCs will no longer have the necessary reliability for the Olympic Winter Games held in February, and 5 even for the Paralympic Games held in March. That means that by 2040 there remain practically just 10 national Olympic committees who could host these snow events of Olympic Winter Games. And from these numbers it becomes even clearer that we need to address very quickly this dramatic impact of climate change on winter sport and the Winter Games. The future host commission has already started to address this very concerning situation. This implies deliberations on a rotation system, the composition of the program, the different needs for sports on ice and snow, and many others. And from all of this, you can already see that this is a very complex issue. And we need some more time to address this properly. This cannot be done in the next 6 months or even in the next 12 months. And this is one of the reasons, if not the main reason, why the future host Commission is proposing to get the opportunity to propose a double allocation of 2 successive Olympic Winter Games for 2030 and 2034, if all conditions are met, in order to gain this more time to address the dramatic impact of climate change. The IOC-EB gave, following this request, a green light to the future host Commission to pursue such a double allocation, and will put this question for further discussion to the IOC session here in Mumbai. The timeline for the further process is that the future host Commission to propose to the Executive Board by end of October, November this year to open a targeted dialogue. The IOC-EB then to decide in November about this targeted dialogue with a view to have the election of the host or the hosts at the IOC session in 2024. With regard to the sports program of Los Angeles 28, the IOC had to take 3 different decisions. First, it was about the proposal of the Los Angeles Organizing Committee to introduce 5 new sports, and these 5 sports are baseball, softball, flag football, lacrosse sixes, squash, and cricket. These proposals have been accepted as a package by the IOC Executive Board, taking into consideration that these proposals and these sports are fully in line with the sports culture of our host in 28, with the American sports culture. They will showcase iconic American sports to the world, while bringing at the same time international sports to the United States. The inclusion will, on the other hand, allow the Olympic movement to engage with new athletes and fan communities in the US and globally. The IOC-EB also reviewed the status of the 3 sports that were not part of the initial sports program for LA 2028. With regard to boxing, we are in a situation that after the withdrawal of the recognition of the International Boxing Association, the IOC has no international federation to partner up with regard to the organization of an Olympic tournament, because, at least at this stage, the IOC has not recognized any other governing body for Olympic boxing. Therefore, any decision of the inclusion of boxing in the sports program is put on hold. But I do not get tired to repeat that we want boxing on the program. We have no problem with boxing. We have no problem with the boxers. We have just a huge problem with regard to the governing body. With regard to modern pentathlon, the IOC recommended to the session to include modern pentathlon, acknowledging the replacement of equestrian with obstacle racing and the optimization work conducted by the International Modern Pentathlon Union to reduce costs and complexity and to facilitate access to the sport. There is also worth noting, and to make this clear for all concerned and all interested, without the exchange of riding against obstacle racing, the sport would not have been included in the program. With regard to weightlifting, the Executive Board recommends to the session the inclusion, following the decision of the International Weightlifting Federation to delegate its anti-doping management to the International Testing Agency and its sanctioning to the Court of Arbitration for Sport at least until the end of year 2028. And we could see their really robust anti-doping program in place addressing our concerns. All these proposals will now go to the IOC session here in Mumbai for a vote. Finally, we looked at the discipline program. There are various opportunities to reduce the cost and complexity of the sports program at the Olympic Games were taken into consideration and highlighted. To give you one example, we received the request by international federations to add 16 new disciplines to the program. These 16 disciplines were evaluated under 3 criteria: whether they require a new venue, whether they require quota increases, whether they are a replacement of existing disciplines or events. And as a result of this evaluation, just one of these 16 requests could be accepted, and this is beach sprint rowing, which will replace the lightweight double sculls event. So far for some of the major decisions, and of course I'm happy at least to try to answer any question you may have.
Thank you very much, President. So a lot of content there to chew over. Happy to take your questions. I think I can see many people busy typing their stories, their first stories. So let's start with Wakako. Wakako in the front here, yeah. And then we'll go to Alex Capstick from the BBC.
Thank you, President. Wakako Yuki from the Yomiuri Shimbun. Regarding 2030, may I confirm that when the EB would enter targeted dialogue by December or around December for 30 and 30 for both editions of the Games, and would there be more than one city that I can enter for the targeted dialogue in each edition? Also, is there any way you could disclose what are the NOCs of those 15 over 3 continents which may have possibility for the future sustainable Olympic Games? Thank you.
Thank you very much. With regard to the first question, this is up to the future host commission to make this recommendation. Then whether it would just be one NOC per edition of the Games, or whether there would be more than one. This will greatly depend now on the continued dialogue there, which is going on with regard to the different, interested NOCs. With regard to the other question, I think this then will be put in the context once the Program Commission has made further progress, because, as I said, these are the initial studies, and they will still need some more context, and then, of course, all these studies and deliberations will be made publicly available.
Thank you, Alex Capstick, and then we'll come to Mark van Tuyek.
Yeah, Alex Capstick, BBC. Just wondered how you managed to persuade LA to accept cricket, where, you know, in America it's not a big sport. I understand flag football was requested, but how did you how did you get LA to agree to cricket, and what does it mean for the IOC to have cricket in the Olympics?
There I can maybe reveal a secret that it did not take anything to convince them. The first idea came up in a dinner I shared with Casey Wasserman on the occasion of the Athletics World Championships in Eugene last year. And there Casey saw already the great potential and was highlighting it himself. So there was not much work to do, if any. For the IOC, it means what I said before, that it's a great opportunity to engage with a new athlete and a fan community, not only, but in particular, of course, also in India, but across the world. We see the growing popularity of cricket, and in particular the T20 format. Now the World Cup, a huge success already. So we are looking forward to welcome the world's best players in cricket to perform in US in 28, where they're already this year. I think it was in July or it's in summer. We had a very successful cricket tournament in Dallas, Texas. And we have also, you know, a growing Indian community in the United States, so that it is very attractive for LA, and it's very attractive for the Olympic movement.
Thank you. Mark van Tuyek. No, yeah.
Bonjour, ma traditionnelle question en français. La première, bon, 5 sports additionnels, donc 4 sports par équipe, plus la boxe, plus l'haltérophilie, plus le pentathlon moderne qui font leur retour. Est-ce que vous restez à 10 500 athlètes ou est-ce que les sports additionnels viennent en plus, comme c'était le cas à Tokyo? Deuxième petite question aussi. Je vais faire le mauvais esprit, mais l'introduction du cricket devrait avoir, comme je l'ai lu chez mes amis d'Inside the Games par exemple, des effets sur les droits télé pour l'Inde, ou est-ce que les contrats sont déjà signés pour 2028?
Pour la première petite question, je réfère à mon collègue Kit McConnell, qui a traité cette question de quotas dans la commission de programme et aussi aujourd'hui au comité exécutif. Et pour la deuxième question, je peux déjà vous répondre que les droits télé pour l'Inde ne sont pas signés au-delà de Paris 2024.
Merci Président et merci Marc. Aujourd'hui, je peux faire une réponse à la question. We discussed the question of the quota, obviously, inside the Olympic Programme Commission and then with the IOC Executive Board, because it's a very clear question that does come, as you say, with the nature of a package that includes 4 team sports. Just to highlight some context, Mark, before answering the question directly, obviously it is a package, as the President said, and that package fits together fantastically well in terms of the target audiences, the types of sports, reaching out to different parts of the community around the country. In terms of the quota itself, we should also be very clear that it is a package put forward by the organising committee for the Olympic Games Los Angeles 2028 alone. So it is for that edition of the Games and doesn't necessarily set the precedent for the future. As you mentioned, in Tokyo, the first time we had OCOG proposed sports, there was a team sport, baseball, softball, as part of that, and that whole package was above the 10,500, as you know. In Paris, because the package was comprised of 4 individual sports with relatively low quotas, that was inside the 10,500, so both of those reflected the context of the package, if you like. We should also note that of the 4 in Paris, we've actually taken 3 of those 4 already into the IOC program. So with the package put forward and the team sports, it's clear that we will need to go over the 10,500. How far we go, we obviously need to discuss. All of the athlete quotas are finalised at the start of 2025 when we finalise the event program and the athlete quotas. So it will be finalised then, the exact quota, but we will go over the 10,500, but we'll try and limit how far we go over when we finalise the athlete quotas.
Thanks, Kit. Okay, we're going to ask 3 questions from online now. I'll go to my colleague Christian in the back there. Christian, over to you.
We start with Carlos Groman from Reuters.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mark. A question on the suspension of the Russian Olympic Committee. What does the ROC need to do now specifically to have that suspension lifted? Or is there a deadline by which things need to be done in order to proceed without an NOC to the Paris Olympics? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. There is no deadline. The decision says clearly until further notice, so we will now keep monitoring the different developments. And there is no time pressure because what we also say is that we reserve the right to invite there by ourselves individual neutral athletes with a Russian passport, and this means that the ROC will have no role to play. This will be direct invitations which we will manage then with the international federations and if needed then with the respective national federations, and also in this way to make it clear that there is no representation of Russia or the Russian Olympic Committee by these athletes, that there are strictly individual neutral athletes.
Next one is Boria Majumdar from Ref Sports in India.
Yes, Boria, please go ahead with a question if you can hear us.
Mark, then we would simply switch over to Tracy Holmes from ABC Australia.
Well, this is not Tracy whom we see there on the screen.
Now we got Boria back.
Boria's back. Boria, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Yes, we can. Yeah. President Bach, thank you very much for the opportunity. I mean, Mrs. Ambani, our IOC member, owns a cricket franchise in India and also a stake in a US cricket franchise. Now that you've announced the inclusion of cricket in LA, do you think that you can work more closely with her in expanding the footprint of the Olympic Games in the global south? Because clearly this is a massive moment for every Indian as well.
We will work with the ICC there, as we do in all sports. We are not working with different national franchises. We are working with the respective international federation, and we are looking forward to receiving their ideas. how to use this inclusion in the Olympic program to make cricket even more popular across the globe.
Thank you very much. Tracy next, I think. Off you go, Tracy.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Hi, President Bach. Thanks for taking my question. It is with regard to the tragic events that are happening in Israel and Gaza at the moment, and I was wondering what sort of discussions have taken place inside the IOC's executive board, and whether the National Olympic Committees from both of those places have actually approached the IOC asking for assistance, and whether it's going to cause any sort of a problem heading towards Paris next year.
Oh, thank you very much. It was indeed that the members of the IOC Executive Board, we expressed our very strong feelings at the very beginning when we came together here, already at our working dinner on the eve of the Executive Board meeting, and expressed our deepest sympathy with the innocent victims of this terrible violence. And it continued then at the very beginning of our meetings, then yesterday morning. And we are and have been in contact on the day these incidents and this terrible violence started with in Istanbul with the President and the Secretary General of the Israeli NOC, and there have been contacts there also with private friends and private friends over all these days, and now the President of the Israeli NOC is here in Mumbai and stands for election as IOC member after during the last couple of days she has always kept us informed about her activities to support in particular the Olympic community in Israel.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Let's go to gentleman in the front here in the suit who's not looking at me, so I'll go to Inside the Games and then we'll come to you, sir. Yeah, Inside the Games there. Microphone.
Hi, Patrick Burke from Inside the Games. Thanks as always for the opportunity. On boxing, is what you're saying ruling out the possibility of the IOC managing boxing at LA28 for a third consecutive games, even if that means the sport is dropped from the programme and you can't find a solution with an international federation? And secondly, just to clarify on 2030 and 2034 double award, obviously next year's session is in Paris in France. Is that going to be an issue because France is interested in staging the 2030 Winter Olympics, and has that been considered at all, or is there alternative plans there by any chance? Thank you.
I guess you know the answer to both questions because both are hypothetical, and I will not enter into answering hypothetical question. What happens if by then we don't have an IF, and what we'll do, and what happens if France should be in a targeted dialogue? These questions will be answered once the problem arises, and there are then on our desks.
Thank you. Gentleman in the suit there. Yeah, to your right, sir.
Yeah. Julian Geyer, AFP. On cricket's proposed inclusion for 2028, have you made a decision yet on the number of teams and how they will be qualified?
No, you know, we are still in the proposal mode. We need first the vote of the session there in the coming days. And there, as far as I know, there has been a number of teams which would be qualified, or which would participate then in the games with the respective quota, but I'm not aware of the qualification system. Kit?
Thank you, President. Thanks, Julian, for the question. The proposal from LA was 6 teams per sport, and each of the team sports that they have put forward, both men and women, underlying their gender equality across the overall package. Now, that number, as we mentioned earlier, if it's confirmed by the session to be in the program, all of those athlete numbers would be confirmed along with the sports previously confirmed in the program when we finalise the event program and athlete quota at the start of 2025. So all of the team sports have been proposed as a 6-team tournament, but subject to finalisation at the start of 2025. Building on the President's comments on the qualification system, no detailed discussion regarding that. Those are finalised around 2025 as well. Normally the host country is one of the teams in the team sports, and then we look at a balance of global strength and regional representation and try and find that balance within the available quota as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Kit. Okay, we'll go for Shin here, and then I can see an arm in the back there. Gentlemen, I think you've got glasses on. I can't see who it is, but we'll go to Shin first.
Shinsuke Kobayashi from Kyodo News. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. About the new sports in LA 28, President, you have explained clearly about the impact of the cricket coming into the Olympics. Could you also summarize what good other new sports would bring to the Olympic movement, the flag football, lacrosse particularly, and the squash, please? Thank you.
No, there we need not to go into theories. You know, we have these 3 sports seen at the World Games, and as you know, the IOC has a close cooperation and the MOU with the World Games, and all these 3 sports have been had very successful performances in the World Games. On top of it, you know, they are reflecting again, you know, different areas of American culture and sports culture. If you look at lacrosse, you know, this is a sport which is the sport, if I may say so, of the First Nations of the US. If you look at squash, it has enjoyed in US, not necessarily all across the world, but in US, significant growth in the recent past. And flag football is also enjoying a growing popularity, in particular among girls and women, because with flag football you're avoiding some of the challenges with injuries there American football is facing. And again, successful performance at the World Games, which also took place in the United States, in Birmingham last year.
Okay, yeah. Gentleman at the back there, I can see, yeah, you've got the microphone. Please ask.
Ja, hallo Herr Bach, ich frage auf Deutsch. Sie haben das russische NOK suspendiert. Warum nicht die Sportler? I
don't think we have translation for German, I'm afraid. I do apologize.
I'll speak in English.
French or English.
So, Mr. Bach, you suspended the Russian NOC, but not the athletes. Why you didn't take a decision on the athletes so far? And athletes I spoke to, German Athletes Committee, for example, said it's a chaos situation within the qualification round now for the Olympics. They speak about, I don't know the English word, Flickenteppich, because of the federations, different rules, different things you decided. So why you didn't take a decision on the athletes and why you can't? And second question, how would you feel if you had to qualify for the Olympics within a situation you created for the athletes right now?
First of all, we have not suspended the athletes with a Russian passport because they have not incorporated this for Ukrainian regions in the National Olympic Committee. This has been done by the National Olympic Committee, and there we are following our principle, which we have always been following, that we do not punish or sanction athletes for acts of their officials or of their government, but that our task is to protect the athletes and to protect the rights of the athletes. With regard to the qualification, the same recommendation applies to all international federations. The qualification systems in the federations are different, as they have always been. There is no change in this. And we have seen in a number of world championships and qualification competitions that they went pretty smoothly, that there were no kind of demonstrations or objections, and that in the contrary the athletes appreciated to be able to compete against the best athletes of the world. And there I can ask Mr. McConnell to give you a little bit more of the background, because he and his team are following each of these events and these qualifications very closely.
Thank you, President. And yes, in terms of the return to the field of play of the AIN athletes, we've seen it in a number of sports now, in individual sports, to be clear, and in each of those cases it's been a smooth return to the field of play. As the President said, we haven't seen any withdrawals of other national federations or individual athletes from those events, and so from a sporting perspective, they've certainly been very smooth in terms of that conduct. As the President mentioned, for the ones that we've attended, we've had very positive feedback from the athletes there about welcoming back all athletes from all countries, and having them competing as equals on the field of play. From the other federations that have not yet had that return, nearly all of them, the vast majority, have confirmed that they are moving towards that return. Some are at different stages of that, but they all have a process in place towards that return. Some are planning before the end of the year, and then others at the start of next year. So building on what is already happening on the field of play, nearly all of the other federations have the plans in place to move into that by early next year as well.
This was also confirmed by the most recent IOC Athletes Forum, where we had around 400 athletes, representatives from 180 countries, where we had the same response, and even from the African continent in particular, the request to consider to lift the restrictions and the very strong conditions we have put on individual neutral athletes with a Russian and the Belarusian passport, and to give them access to a flag, national colors, anthem, and all the national insignia.
Okay, we're going to take one more from the floor here, the guy here with the red hat on, and then we're going to move over to you later when we come back. So we'll take some of our local friends, but gentleman here first, and then we'll go to the floor.
My name is Shrikant. I work for IANS News Agency. The question is related to cricket. their anti-doping program is something which would not is not up to the standards of what IOC follows. You people have already discussed the anti-doping program of weightlifting. Is there any such discussion taken place on cricket?
Yes, and Mr. McConnell will give you the detailed information.
Thank you, President. And I think the President touched on earlier the importance of the ICC as the governing body, the International Federation of Cricket. And to be clear, the ICC is a signatory to the wider code and is code compliant. So there, to answer the question directly, yes, we are comfortable with the situation of the ICC in terms of their compliance with the necessary international anti-doping regulations. Then obviously as we move towards the Games, we'll continue to work in more detail regarding that. But yes, in terms of compliance, the ICC is fully compliant with the necessary regulations.
Thank you, Kit. Okay, let's pass to Christian and let's go to a few questions from online, please, Christian.
We have Lisa Roche from Desert News.
Good morning, all from Salt Lake City. President Bach, I wonder if you could address the timeline for advancing cities to targeted dialogue for 2030 and 2034. You said that that could come as soon as the end of this month. Is that accelerating the timeline that had been anticipated? Will the future host commission meet sooner than scheduled and make a recommendation sooner than scheduled? And would the IOC-EB meet in advance of its already scheduled meeting at the end of November and the start of December? Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for the question, to be able to clarify this. You know, we have calculated these deadlines from the end. So the question was what timing do we need, and what timing does in particular the future host commission need in order to have an election then at the IOC session in 2024. And this, you know, was leading to two steps, if you want, that we need in the EB then to open the targeted dialogue, then to be ready end of November. So to prepare this recommendation to the EB, the future host commission has time, but this is up to them when they will have their meeting and how they will meet this deadline. But they cannot wait until end of November and then all of a sudden, you know, coming with a proposal. So there is already considerable work ongoing, and they will then forward the result of this work as soon as possible, but in order to make a decision by the EB possible end of November. And the EB then will have to respect the deadlines for the session. That means everything must be ready at the very latest 1 month before the session starts. That means by this, if you speak then by the allocation of the games, by then all the necessary guarantees, the host city contract, everything has to be ready for signature.
Thank you. Christian?
Next one is Jonathan Crane.
Please go ahead, Jonathan. Ask your question.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
We can indeed.
I hope you can see me soon as well. Yeah, my question, thank you for the opportunity. My question is on Russia. to President Bach. Given that the IOC has now suspended the Russian Olympic Committee, will it now suspend the IOC members from Russia, Yelena Isinbayeva and Shamil Tapashev, given that they also sit on the Russian Olympic Committee's executive board? And if not, why not? Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, what we always have to have in mind is the position of the IOC members. There are not the representatives of Russia in the IOC. They are the representatives of the IOC in Russia. And in order to ensure the equal treatment there between officials and athletes, we have nevertheless submitted these IOC members in Russia to an assessment by the IOC Ethics Commission. And there, the understanding of the IOC Ethics Commission is that neither Mrs. Inbayeva nor Mr. Tapichev had contractual links with the Russian military or security agencies, nor supported the invasion or the war in Ukraine.
Okay, let's go to another one online, Christian, if there is one.
Yes, we have a couple more, but we start with Ed Hula.
Fire away, Ed, from Florida.
Here.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Off you go.
Yep, okay, great. A follow-up on the decision on the Russian suspension. You're going to end right now any payments due to Russia from the Olympics. Is there any idea how much money is outstanding? What kind of effect this might have on Russia? And will athletes who receive Olympic solidarity money in Russia be impacted by this as well?
Quite frankly, I don't have an idea what is outstanding there. In fact, we were facing a situation already in the last couple of months or in the last year that payments which were due could not be made because of the sanctions that are imposed on the payment systems. So I'm not aware there how much money has been accumulated by then. And with regard to athletes, there we are there to protect the athletes and not to sanction or punish the athletes for their officials or for their government. If there are such cases, of course, we will do our best to keep supporting the athletes directly, but not through their National Olympic Committee as it usually happens, but not through a suspended National Olympic Committee, of course.
Okay, gentleman here was asking, I think it's from Indian Express, I can't, yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks. With regards to the quota, the 10,500, Kit said that you'll try to limit how far we can go. So are we looking at a possibility that the existing sports, we might be seeing a reduction of events? Say, for example, there has been a buzz in the shooting circles that the number of events in the shooting sport might be reduced for the LA Games. And also with regards to the addition of disciplines, 16 were considered. So does that mean for some sports, say like beach wrestling or compound archery, it's game over as far as LA is concerned?
Thanks for the question. And just building on the quota, I think obviously part of us looking to limit the increase would obviously equally be looking to limit the impact on the existing sports, and that's the balance we'll have to find moving forward, also respecting the universality within those existing sports in any changes that we make. I think on the second question regarding the disciplines, you're right. The Programme Commission set that very clear framework that the President outlined of no new venues, no additional quota, and new disciplines only where they were a replacement or a swap for existing events or existing disciplines, and that's why coastal rowing is the only additional or new discipline, because of the replacement of lightweight rowing, as the President said. In saying that, I think it's also really important that we highlight the strength of a number of the proposals that were put forward by the international federations. You mentioned some, but some of those proposals that came from international federations, we had to say no because of that framework and controlling the cost and complexity, but it's not a judgment on the quality of many of those proposals that came from federations. There's a lot of proposals there that are really well-established, highly popular, highly developed forms of the sport, very popular outside the games. So any of those omissions or non-inclusions is not a criticism of the respective discipline and sport. There's some very compelling cases the federations have made, but it was really about the cost and complexity.
Okay, thank you very much. We're coming to the end now. We're going to take one more online, and then the gentleman here has been waiting for a while, and I think we'll call it a day. So one more online, Christian.
Mark, we have
coming
a
up to
colleague
the hour,
from
so.
India, and I guess it's going to be a cricket question from Abhijit Deshmukh.
Hello, thank you for this opportunity. I'd like to ask, do you think the popularity of cricket is tremendous in Southeast Asia and across Asia? So since LA 2028 can host this, and then 2032 you have Brisbane, Australia, where cricket is also popular. You think cricket will add more, bring more popularity to the Olympic sports, and then the other few Olympics, maybe if India can host the 2036 successful, will add more popularity to cricket at the Olympics?
I think this is a win-win situation. The Olympic Games will give cricket a global stage and the opportunity to grow beyond the traditional cricket countries and regions. And for the Olympic movement, it's the opportunity to engage with fan and athlete community, to which so far we did have very little or even no access. And we see, this move also very much reflected here in how one can enrich the other. We see it in India, where you see the growing Olympic spirit, where you see a number of Olympic sports gaining strength and becoming popular, and cricket still being the number one sport and the most popular sport.
Okay, final question, gentleman here with the microphone.
Mr. Bach, Robert Kemper for German TV ARD. Also one question regarding your decision about suspension of the Russian Olympic Committee. The press spokeswoman from the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs said regarding your decision that it's a politically motivated decision, again under influence from Washington. This is constantly critics coming from Russia since 1.5 years. So what is your take on that? The first question. And the second question, were you in contact with the Russian NOC prior to this decision you made yesterday? And and how was the conversation with them, if so?
With regard to the first question, if I would respond to every comment coming from Russia, I could not do anything else anymore, and I will not go to this level of comments which we can hear there from some people in Russia, from some people in the government or close to the government or in the parliament. With regard to the second question, yes, the Russian Olympic Committee enjoyed the right to be heard. They have been informed about the procedure we have put in place. They have responded to this in writing. And then, after the EB had taken the decision, as we always do, then the concerned party is informed beforehand, before the decision is published, and this is what happened there also with the Russian Olympic Committee, and the reaction there. I have been told today that there would be an official statement by the Russian Olympic Committee, but again, you know, I cannot keep myself busy with all the statements there by everybody. I guess there will be quite a few about this decision.
Just one follow-up.
Very quickly, yeah.
Just one follow-up.
Yeah.
You said that the Russian NOC replied or had the right for a statement. Could you tell the audience what the Russian side said?
More or less that this would follow the laws in Russia, that the Duma would have passed a law which annexed these four regions to the Russian Federation, and that the ROC did nothing else but to follow this law. This is, I guess, in a nutshell, the core of the response. There were some more, but you asked for the core, and this was the core.
Thank you very much, President. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, there was still there was about Crimea, and they're making a comparison, and there, you know, this is a comparison you cannot make because the IOC never accepted the annexation of Crimea, and therefore this argument was a little bit, why did you not sanction us already earlier? But there we never acknowledged this annexation, and in fact we did not have at the time in 2016 when this question came up, we did not have issues with the nationality of athletes participating in the Olympic Games Rio 2016.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, President. Opening ceremony tomorrow. Look forward to seeing you back here in a few days. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you very much, and enjoy your time here in India.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a housekeeping.